Hello and welcome to the recap of the penultimate episode of Canberra Survivor 2, The Ultimate Sacrifice. One episode to review here, and then tomorrow is the finale, final five. I'm sure we're all very excited. And because we are so excited, because we are this close to the end, I have with me, as always, to everyone's enjoyment and pleasure, Annabel. Welcome.
Hey.
And for those that enjoy Max Johnson's lukewarm takes, I'm sorry to disappoint. He's in Adelaide. He was putting together a thing. There was a time lapse. It was pretty cool, actually. But he cannot be with us. Hopefully, he'll be with us as we recap the finale next week. Though that recap, just do a bit of housekeeping. We don't really do some housekeeping. I'll do some housekeeping here. Ooh. Normally on these podcast shows, they don't do a recap of the finale. It never happens. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's boring. I don't know. We'll consider that. But I don't know who goes out. We're going to maybe do some predictions, but I don't know the order this final five is going to go and who's going to win. But we'll probably have next week just a run of interviews with the people that aren't the finale, the winner. And maybe not the top two. We'll see if it's a final two. Anyway, I'll work it out. I don't have the goss on how it actually goes. And then the week after, I think we'll just bring in the winner and maybe the runner-up and get like a deep dive with the two of them about their experience, especially the winner. I want to do a big deep dive. So that's going to be the format going forward. And then I might dive into a bit of Brisbane Survivor. Just before we get into this, did you happen to watch any of the Brisbane Survivor episode that's come out, Annabel?
So
I've dropped
last
you
week
in this.
actually a blindside when you revealed that we would be covering Brisbane Survivor, and it's now an additional blindside that Brisbane Survivor is even out. So no, I've not watched it. I had no idea, and unfortunately, stabbed to my heart. I'm actually going on a yoga retreat in a couple of weeks. So I guess Max is just going to have to cover for me on that one.
I might have some special guests, but what we're going to be doing with Brisbane, I checked out the first episode before we jump into Canberra. For a first season, for a first attempt by someone, incredible production quality. The camera work, the camera angles, the editing is very, very high. The production of the actual challenges in the game is that sort of backyard vibe, which is completely understandable for your first attempt. But I'm so impressed by the quality of the production that I think that there's a big future for this Brisbane Survivor LRG. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to do a bit of a recap on the first 4 or 5 episodes as opposed to covering it every week. They have their own podcast as well, which had Malcolm and the ORCA. So the ORCA pod, the ORCA is on a pod that isn't the ORCA pod. And Mel, who will be joining us later today, did a bit of a podcast called The Embers for Brisbane Survivor. So a lot of crossover with the Canberra-Brisbane peeps.
Well, I love that for you. I love that for them.
Don't love it for you.
No, I especially love it for me because it sounds like everyone's got it covered. And
it's covered.
There's no need for me to watch that as well.
I don't know who's going to watch without you, though, because I need someone to, give me some shit sometimes. I think everyone enjoys that in the audience. I'm otherwise hard to take down. I need a fierce person to take me down, and only you can do it the way you can.
I don't know. We've got Max and his lukewarm insults. So they'll be there.
We love you, Max. Okay, so in the episode, I was planning on kicking it off with an interview with Jo, who got immediately booted. She's unavailable. She's holidaying with her family, and obviously just bitter at all the fucks that voted her out. She was actually very bitter. She was very upset to have been voted out.
I wanted to ask her about that. Yeah, and we're super excited to have you, Mel. And so you cannot. Yes, I'm one and done, honey. This has been a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I am not going to retroactively go back and watch the others. And honestly, it's still a toss-up as to whether I'm going to watch my own season. Jo boot. I wanted to talk to her actually, because I thought this is something I've been mulling over for the last 5 or so months around the ethical considerations of casting people who've never watched the show, let alone ever had any interaction with the frankly unhinged Survivor fan community, and
Not just the Survivor fan community, the Survivor fan community that plays LRGs.
yeah, like next level psychopaths.
Correct.
And I like, at least when you're cast on the actual show, you know, you have several hours worth of conversations with a psychologist, you talk to a lot of people and producers, and you're kind of, even though you can't really get a full picture of what it is you're about to go into, you're at least pre-warned. Just so you're aware, hun, it's going to be a fucking nightmare experience. It's going to be quite damaging. I mean, thank goodness she didn't make it to the final tribal council, where even if she did secure the win, she probably would have been torn a new hole in the meantime, as per these LRGs tend to go.
We've seen it being happen. The super fans who are super salty that they did not make the end, just tear a new one to the poor hapless person who just filled in the numbers. And look, and I get that, because the super fan still wants to have an impact on the tribal. They want to have that, you know, moment where they're super salty as the juror, like real old school Survivor. You don't see it as much these days, of course, with the format. But like, they want to have that, you know, that moment. And it doesn't matter whether you channel 10 and you edit out all the horrible things that were clearly said to Matt and Jerry. You experienced it nonetheless, right? You definitely experienced that thing, and we've experienced that. We've seen it, and it can be quite troubling for people who don't expect to come on one of these things and get viciously attacked, because they don't understand that the people they're there with, who are the super fans, are actually more of a character than their actual selves.
Yes, and this is perhaps getting a little bit meta and behind the scenesy with it, but you know, it's already hard enough to find women to participate in LRGs. But I have been thinking a lot about whether or not, when we're producing these, and this isn't a slight on Survivor Canberra at all. You know, they've done a fantastic job. But I really feel like maybe we should be giving contestants, when they go in, more of a briefing on, maybe, look, this is, even if you are prepared for this, understand you're probably going to come away from this a little bit rattled. And then going into that final tribal, briefing the final two or final three, look, this is going to be a bit of an intense experience, and also briefing the jury and saying, look, obviously, honey, have your main character moment, but let's just remember, everybody here is fans. We've been here for 2 days. This isn't for $1 million. And let's treat everybody like human beings, because I do think that perhaps, you know, Joe was really shaken by being lied to. Don't get me wrong, I threw a major tantrum when I obviously was a losing finalist. Lol, jokes, no spoilers. But
that's why you're so bitter right now. Everyone attacked you.
I threw a little bit of a tantrum, and I knew exactly what to expect. So I think if you had no idea what to expect, you'd never seen an episode, you'd never hanged out with a complete nerdazoid that is us playing this kind of thing, it would be a little bit rattling.
Well, and that was, and see, she doesn't even have the awareness by having played the game or watched the game enough to know. Like, I immediately knew that Joe was going to be the one to go at that tribal. Now, had that been a normal tribal, I don't necessarily think she goes. Like, she's obviously a bit of a goat, and no offense to her, but she's someone who's not going to get the votes at the end. And I think all of the people that had her as an ally would have looked at her as why would I vote this person out? There's nothing that serves me in voting her out, except when you go to a double tribal like that, and there's very little time to discuss who you're actually going to vote. Everyone goes into self-preservation mode and votes. There's got to be enough numbers on someone else that wasn't me. And who are people most likely to vote for? People that were being talked about for the prior vote, which was only, other than Mel who went, Joe and Nick. Nick was still immune. And so it came to Joe, who Nick had been trying to spread this story that she's got a great story and she's going to win because she hasn't watched Survivor. And no one's buying that, but it's a name that was out there. And that's what you write down in that scenario. If they go back to Tribal and have proper time, I don't think Joe's the next one that goes. I think Mel goes immediately. And then even then, I don't think that it's necessarily Joe next. I think Joe is then used by someone like Amar or a Sophie to further their own game.
I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, I agree. I think Mel, it's a real testament to the game. Mel played a phenomenal game. And
I always knew she would. I always knew she would. I didn't say she'd be the first pick at all.
Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, if Mel had not started on Orange, where she was completely cooked with what an absolute trash heap that was for challenges, I can see Mel winning this because what she made out of what she had was great. But going back to that the Joe piece you were saying, and you don't think she would have gone next. I would be interested next week when you've taken it upon yourself to single-handedly cover the finale. I would be interested to know from Mar and interested to know from Michael and Nick if it was all bullshit or if they genuinely did view her as a threat. Because why were they saying it in the exit voting confessionals? Why were they saying it in their own confessionals? I mean, to you and I, it seems a bit all right. But, I mean, they were saying it.
This is true. It's just maybe Nick was convincing them or they're getting paranoid. I'm not sure. Orange hates purple, and maybe Orange would just vote for her, because she was not the one bullshitting to them like everyone else. But that's not the sort of players that anyone from Orange that's sitting on the jury are. Like, that is not Wolf, and that is not John, and that is not Mel now. They are... Nick was worried because of the perjury season 1 winner. That's from Aston. What's he getting to there, Annabel, do you think?
I believe,
is that how the perjury season 1 winner won?
Yeah, so unless you're talking about, if you're talking specifically about perjury versus outcasts, in perjury season 1 at the end, there was a real nice guy Christian who hadn't really played, wasn't really a super fan, versus kind of a ruthless, iconic gay guy who had played a very strategic cutthroat game. And the nice guy pretty much unanimously won. So
it's jury based. You win with the jury you have, and some juries, like Russell Hantz is such a great example because he probably would have won a bunch of other games with a different jury in Samoa, but that particular jury just were like, no. We don't want to vote for you. Give us a reason not to vote for you, even though you played such a good game. And then David, whatever his name, gets up and stumps about, why isn't Coattail writing a legitimate strategy? That's what Natalie had in her bag. Let's just fucking vote for her. It depends on the jury, right? And
I also think it depends on the personality. I mean, Russell Hantz has a fundamentally unlikable, reprehensible personality. And I think you can be someone who is very strategic, cutthroat, and incredibly charismatic and lovable. And
you need, if you're going to play the quiet game, though, you need a very good final tribal council. You can't have you need to knock it out of the park at FTC if you were playing that quiet game the whole time. That can overcome the strategic, ruthless person that people weren't that into. Christie's a good example of that in the first Australian Survivor.
Yeah.
She's nice. Yeah. She's a bit nothing. No one really thought anything of her. And then she came in with this amazing final tribal council, and Lee was just there with his cricket ball in his hand, baffled. His badminton ball in his hand, just sitting there confused. So anyway, Joe goes and she's very upset about it. And I do understand, people were lying to her a whole game and she believed them.
Yeah. So then we have some very interesting dynamics that go down. And you know what? If I hadn't only watched the episode today and was therefore spoiled on who left, I would have put my money on Sophie going out today rather than Mel.
If Nick doesn't win immunity, he's going, right?
Yes. If Nick doesn't go, I thought, and what do you think about this? I thought that voting out Mel over Sophie was the right move for Ma and the wrong move for Michael. What do you think?
Well, where we get in a bit of predictions of how it's going to go from here. This would, I think. Well, to answer that question, I need to say, hey, I think what's going to go from here, right?
Okay.
I think that they're all going to start the episode talking about voting out Nick. He's going to win immunity again. And then they're all going to get back and purple it up again and talk about whatever plans, and all just vote out Anna because they refuse to like actually make moves on one another. And then we'll go to Final Four. And at Final Four, it won't matter Nick win immunity because Sophie and Michael and Nick will look at each other and go, against the three of us, any of us has an okay shot. But none of us are beating Ma. And then I think Ma gets the boot at 4. That's what I think will happen.
I think Ma wants to go to the end with Anna. We had a very amusing kind of The Office style scene on the lead up kind of into Tribal, where Ma was having the third conversation with Sophie, which should have been a major red flag for Sophie that their relationship is the Titanic right now, where Ma said, okay, well, are you actually considering going to the end with Nick? And instead of giving the correct answer, which was, well, of course not, absolutely no.
All those boys are going to vote for Nick. Why would I go there with Nick? Malcolm's going to vote for Nick. The ORCA's going to vote for Nick. That's an absurd strategy. I'm not doing that. That's what she said.
Sophie says, well, we can't possibly go to the end with Anna and Mel. I mean, Anna doesn't talk and she doesn't show any facial expressions. She'd be a huge threat. And Ma makes direct eye contact with the camera. And there's this kind of like music in the background.
Yeah. It was the ultimate sacrifice noise, wasn't it? It was the ultimate thing from the ultimate sacrifice.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a poor move. It's a poor move from Sophie because if you want to sell voting out oranges, you should be just selling look at all the oranges on the jury. Like, I don't really buy that because they will hate each other, but that's a better argument for why they should go, right? Then Anna's like, deadpan, no emotion. Why is that a reason not to take her to Tribal?
I felt like in that moment, Sophie was the edit and Ma's facial response was me on this podcast this whole season.
Well, what do you think is going to happen in terms of... I've said what I think is going to happen. I think Nick wins immunity, they vote out Anna, and they all look at each other and vote out Ma. And then I don't know if it's a final 3 or a final 2, but I could see it being Michael and Nick at the end in a final 2.
No, I think Michael's toast now. So I think now we've got Anna who wants to still work with Ma but doesn't want to work with Sophie. And she's open to working with Nick. Nick's won. Nick keeps having immunity. We have Sophie and Nick who don't really trust Michael, but Nick still really trusts Ma and wants to go to the end with Ma. Sophie still trusts Ma and wants to go to the end with Ma. Ma kind of doesn't seem to really care as long as it's not going to the end with Nick. So I can see Ma losing Michael in this finale, because I think this is why I think it was the right decision that Michael should have pushed Ma on this one, on getting rid of Sophie, because Mel was always willing to work with Michael, but Sophie and Nick have never been tight with Michael. They've always just been tight with Ma, and Sophie and Nick are already putting Michael's name out there.
Mel is super dangerous though. Like at that final 6, she's probably the most threatening player to go to the end with, I would say. Like if you're talking about getting with the threats.
You don't want to get rid of... Yeah, I agree. She's one of the most strategic people left in the game, but we've not seen her win any immunities. And
she's probably not going to win them. Not when Nick's around anyway.
Anna, who she got for allies? Anna and Mel have hated each other since.
She finally decided to use her name properly. She's finally... He's like, I love you now, Anna. That was a good moment.
Anna earned her name rights. Nick and Mel, Sophie and Mel not working together. So really, this was one of the few people in the game that Michael had that other people didn't. And this is why I think Ma is now in a position where everybody left in the game wants to work with her.
Mel doesn't agree. We'll see what she says when she comes on.
All right, well, when we bring her on. Whereas I do think, I worry about Michael. I don't know who's left who wants to work with him.
Can we just dial back on Anna still wants to work with Ma, given Ma's ridiculously poor excuse for stealing Anna's vote? Like,
who does Anna actually want to work with?
But she was like, I stole your vote because I can't even fathom what she said because I can't remember it because it was absurd. Because in the end of the day, you steal someone's vote because you don't trust them to vote with. So Anna was supposed to be voting with Ma. The only reason you take her vote is you don't trust that she is going to vote the way she said she would, which means she doesn't trust you, which means this is a problem for you. But Anna has not been playing the sort of game that analyzes those scenarios.
No, and in fairness, Anna was going on at Tribal Council about how she doesn't know where she's going to vote, and there's been a lot of names, and has given plenty of reasons as to why Ma couldn't trust her to vote the way she wants. And didn't we have Mal on the podcast last week saying he actually thinks if Anna had her vote, she might have voted with him? So yes, I mean, at this point, Anna feels disenfranchised by basically everybody left because nobody's giving her extra votes and honoring her voice and strategic mastery. But at this point, I feel like, again, she's kind of got limited places to go. She decided she hates Sophie.
Sophie's becoming a lot of hate in this episode from the other cast. It's like Sophie's like just had enough of all these bitches and has just decided to just Sophie, shut them down.
Queen Sophie.
She's amazing.
I mean, I love Ma, but Ma is allowed to work with men, but other women are not allowed to work with men.
That's right. How dare they? How dare they?
Love you, Ma.
Look, she's playing a game for the ages.
Absolutely.
So and the conversations about Ma not wanting to go to the end with Nick are always fantastic. They must be enjoying watching them back. It was loosely spoiled on this program that Ma and
the only people watching this are people who either played with them.
Schneider doesn't know. Schneider doesn't know.
Schneider is the only person who does not know that Ma and Nick are dating. There you
Martinez is listening. Martinez is listening. He doesn't know. Not right now, but later on, Martinez will be listening.
Martinez?
He's like Harry from Stranded. He lives in Lithuania.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to Martinez. He listens to our show and watches the LRG, so he doesn't know. But it's enough into the season that we can talk about it. Nick and Ma post-season formed a relationship, a serious enough relationship that Nick actually moved from New South Wales, where he was living, to Melbourne to be with Ma. I've really enjoyed.
He's not lucky. He's not going to do any better. He should uproot his whole life. He should move continents if that's what it takes. Love you.
Well, obviously that's how he felt, and we understand that. But it must be so fun for the two of them watching it back. With the way she's talking about no way I'm going to the end with him. Also complaining about his snoring early on. I sent her a message about that when she was complaining about Nick snoring. It must be so fun for her to watch it back and for him as well in terms of now being in a relationship. So I am interested to see does one of them vote the other one out, and then do they still manage to be in a relationship? I'm very keen to see that. Or is it the two of them at the end because Nick wins all the immunities and he's just fallen in love with Ma and takes her to the end Boston Rob style, either he's got no chance against her, sort of like when Boston Rob took Amber.
Nick is so undyingly loyal to Ma, and Ma is just doing the absolute most to get rid of him, and I'm obsessed.
I love...
Yeah.
Here you go.
I was going to say, I almost hope she somehow convinces him to give her his immunity necklace. Like, that could be the only better thing.
See, Snyder's super excited with the hot drop here about the post-game relationship. Snyder loves it.
Breaking news, you heard it here first.
La Madrina has absolutely Boston robbed this season as far as I'm concerned. And so it would only be fitting for a sort of reverse Boston Rob where Nick thinks he's the Boston Rob and he takes her and then Amber wins. But it's sort of not the right way because, Ma's actually the strategic genius. But you know what I mean? So it's exciting. I've really enjoyed that. I'm really excited to see how that plays out for the rest of the episode. I think we need to talk about Sophie's blatant cheating in the immunity challenge.
That said, actually, I felt like this is where Max would have come in with one of his lukewarm takes. So you guys were talking about all the way back at that challenge where everyone helped Michael to try and take down James Wolfe. Was completely fine then.
Hang on, were you on that podcast? Was that the one you missed, or were you on that one?
No, I was there as well, and I was saying,
okay.
Whatever, I kind of don't care.
Mm-hmm.
This time, arbitrarily, they've decided it's not allowed. So I was kind of, when is it allowed? When is it not allowed?
Yeah, what the fuck, Dan? What the fuck, Liv? This is actually a little bit hypocritical, isn't it?
I hate to say it, but I think we all know who made this decision. Dom. It was Dom. It was obviously Dom.
It's Dom, the worst judge of all time there, calling this. No, I think this is a really fair point. Like, and John told us that he was running around giving Michael answers and helping Michael, and Mel's dead with that joke. Yeah, it was probably the joke, definitely the joke of the season, definitely. And Aston is loving Dom's story arc. It was more of an arc that he got. It's more of an arc that he got on Canberra 1, Aston. It is a little bit unfair. Like, and also I like Sophie's attitude was they're like, Sophie, stop, you can't do. I thought she'd picked up the wrong bottle, which would have been easy to mistake to make, right? And then she tries to. She obviously wasn't a mistake, and Dan's like, Sophie, stop doing that. And then she just puts it down. It's like, fine, I'm out. Like, they didn't actually say she had to leave the challenge. They didn't actually say she was out of the challenge.
I love that. No, pull up a current comment, because you know what, Sophie? On some of the challenges, you were allowed to help others. That's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of consistency there. But I do love just going, well, fuck it, I'm not going to participate anymore. Honestly, slay. Love that attitude. It's very long nails lifestyle.
And it doesn't happen that often in real Survivor, but when it has happened, it's been allowed. Even in the most recent season where Liz was trying to help Maddie beat Simon on the water challenge.
I feel like it becomes a little bit touch and go with that as well. Like, I do think there are some challenges where they say, no, you can't help others, and some where you can. So I do think we need to start having some consistency around these ones.
I'm surprised the contestants didn't riot. Like, as you say, these are all LRG freaks, most of them. And I can tell you, if you've ever played an LRG and there's some dispute about the challenge winner based on some sort of arbitrary rule they didn't explain very well, the LRGers lose their fucking minds about not winning the challenge because a rule wasn't explained, myself included. I've learned to just go with the flow now. Like, it is what it is.
Have you had a radical personality shift? When did that happen?
No, when I played that whole org being like a zen, calm person who didn't make any like.
I thought that was a fake personality.
It was, and it helped me be a calmer person.
Okay, all right. Well, I love that for you.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste, bitches. All right. Sophie says she disqualified herself because she didn't want Nick to get penalized. Well, you know what? We love this. We love this. Standing up for Nick. And I do think that, sometimes when you have an ally in the game, you do have to go all in and invest in that relationship. And I felt like Ma was a little bit harsh on Sophie, given that Sophie was left out of the last vote by everybody except for Nick, who was also on her side. And at that point, you kind of do have to put all your eggs in that basket.
Nick should be dating Sophie. She's the one who stuck by.
I agree, honestly.
Like, I don't know if Sophie.
I think neither of them should be dating Nick, and they should be dating each other. Like,
yes, love that. Even if that's not their style, love that story. We're gonna ship that absolutely on this program.
We stand. So cute. I love that. Are we bringing in Mel? Is this
where are you, Mel? I said 10 more minutes, but Mel, if you're ready to jump in, click that link, come on in. I can easily get half an hour content out of you.
I know. I just want to hear Mel's thoughts and feelings. I just feel like I really stand Mel this season. I'm kind of gutted she's not there anymore.
From the very start, I knew she was going to be a four. Look, we all know I picked her before. Mel's going to come in hopefully soon. The fact is, I picked her to be the first boot because of the 6 people that are allocated when we did that original cast assessment. And it was really just because that's what happens in these games to the more old females.
Women over the age of 25.
Correct. And it's completely unfair and bullshit. But, the world is a misogynistic world and the men rule it, and that's what happens, and it's shit. But that's what the world is, and that's what Survivor is, a microcosm of the world. Just look at what's been happening in American Survivor with all of the women getting voted out. So I just felt based on that, she was in some trouble. And the Super Idol sort of maybe saved her, but in the end, I think the Super Idol had nothing to do with it. Like, ultimately, they got rid of that, but they didn't keep her because she had the Super Idol. It was too hard to get rid of. They kept her because she was playing such a great game.
Yeah, absolutely. Aston, the boys. I mean, look, Aston, not every woman can be as blessed as myself to have such an ally like CK in their LRGs, where obviously the dynamic is just completely different.
Hey, there's nothing I respect more and like more in the world in a partner than a very strong woman. Absolutely my favorite thing in the world.
For the love of God, Mel, get in this podcast.
And she's going to a table. Here comes another very strong woman who I absolutely stan, like the one next to me. Here comes Mel. Welcome, Mel.
Hey guys, how are you?
Oh my God, what a
sledging you a little bit. Sorry.
You're just wearing trash. Like I'll give you the update, hot update. You find out in due course, but you're wearing trash. She's wearing a red playing with fire buff. You see, if you can't see that, Annabel, or the audience at home.
Choice. Like, I've been thinking really nice about you, Mel, which is not on brand, and you literally come in here with a personal attack.
So for those listening and all our fans that listen thereafter, Mel has appeared on the podcast with a red tribe playing with fire buff, and everyone knows from the cast reveals that have come out for Melbourne's Survivor playing with fire that Annabel and I were both on the yellow tribe to begin. So it's a real slight from Mel to us. Actually, to start off this interview. It's not so much a
slight to you guys. It's I stand Johnny.
Yes, John was on that tribe. That is true.
Yes.
And so that means you don't stand Ma. Very interesting, because Ma was on the yellow tribe with us. So you made a choice.
I worked with John Moore, so
yes, and you still liked John, unlike the rest of your tribe when he got voted out. Everyone else you were not into, but John you still liked.
Yeah, I did.
Are we going to talk about how we stand the ORCA and Ponderosa Kings? So talk to me about your relationship with James.
With James, actually, James is like now my season bestie. Like, we went at it the entire game. Like, game respects game. You know what I mean? We were at each other. I was testing him. He was backstabbing me, trying to flush my idol. Like, I knew he was coming for me. And to me, it's better to work with the devil you know than the people you don't. And I also knew he was tight with Amy, so I wanted to be in his ear as well, and making sure that she wasn't, manipulating anything there as well. So fun games. Johnny, I did say this on the podcast last night. John has the most underrated edit. Like, he had every single person that left we knew said that they're his number one. And that's the very start of day 2. I told James that he was my number one, but I never believed that. I said that in my vote confessional for James, that I told you were my number one. I never said he was. It was always John from the very get-go. Although the edit didn't show it, Haley John and I were like tight within 5 minutes of the game. And I knew, like, going into that first sacrifice round, I was really confident that I wasn't going to be voted out. I knew after that, once the votes were read, that the chaos would ensue. And what was funny, it didn't really, I think there's a scene where you can see John, like, you know, being John, trying to like get in my ear about the information, and he was trying to work it out. But at the same time, I burnt my clue, and I legit couldn't remember whether I was copying 2 votes for 3 tribals or 3 votes for 2 tribals. And then when it came out 4, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was trying to work out whether 1 person voted for me or 2 people voted for me. And I knew I wasn't going to tell them. I wanted to tell John that the sacrifice was, I was fairly confident that it was 3 votes over 2, although I wasn't sure. So I told him that my sacrifice was 2, obviously. And then God bless him, because his maths is shit. He literally was like, okay, yeah, she got 2 votes. There was 10 votes. She got 2 of them with a sacrifice. And he just perpetuated that. I don't know actually whether he worked it out or at what point he worked it out. But thankfully that just like filtrated through the camp and just caused utter chaos. And from there, everyone was looking at each other like, did someone have an extra vote, blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of fun. And I stand by not telling anyone until after I earned my sacrifice, because it would have only, as you saw, Anna already threw 1 vote on me. So it would have only taken 1 more. And at that point, James had already like confronted Anna and I about what our advantages were. And that was my first test on both of them. So I had told James that it was a normal idol, knowing that Anna would probably have the normal idol. And I wanted to see how she would react, but also if she lied, I could then use that potentially against her as well. But yeah, so James was trying to flush the idol. And you can actually see, if you go back and look at that tribal, James turns around like, you're a goner. And I'm like, hell no, dude. Like, it's a super idol. You don't know that part. And yeah. Absolutely. Like, I'm going nowhere.
I love how you've just come in here and started from the beginning of the season with all of our takes, and you know, we're like, how could Mel, why would she tell them it's 2 and not 3? What a silly move. You're like, I'm going to defend this one and I'm going to defend this one. But I'm sure
no, it's just, that's genuinely how I feel. It's fairly clear I've got a shit memory. Like, I can't even remember anyone's name. It's not like I'm going to remember what you said 8 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, I just legit, that's how I saw the game.
I'm sure you got maximum pleasure though, just when I was calling you as a first boot, and you go all the way to where you went. I'm sure you were secretly chuckling. Exactly.
I'm not going to lie. There may have been some CK memes made around that time.
I'm very memeable. Like, I'm very memeable. There's no doubt about that. Like, you know, people just can't get enough of me.
It's just a very, like, for me, it's a really tired, strategic thought process that an older woman, and you know, I probably shouldn't say this because I'm just drawing attention to older women, but we're actually not weak. Like, if you look at so many of the winners, they are older females, or you know, maybe not my age, but they're certainly not. You know, look at John. Like, I love John, but John is not a challenge threat. Like,
no, to be clear, I wouldn't have voted you out first. I'd never do that. And secondly, I did make the point that it wasn't just the stereotype, but your pre-game interview you talked about wanting to cause chaos, wanting to make, like, you were talking about playing big from the start. So I was adding that element to it.
A hot take on that, CK. I had just done an Amazing Race style LRG that day with Maddie Ching, and of course it finishes at a winery, so you support the winery. We'd gone and done a vodka and gin tasting. We'd gone and made some pretty lethal margaritas, and then Maddie's like, "Hey, let's do your Meet the Cast video," and I was absolutely trashed. I had a cocktail behind me that no one knew about.
Were you and Maddie in the Amazing Race team together?
Yes. So I've done 4. I think Maddie's done 3. So that was our last one, which was Hunter Valley, which would have been February 22. February 22. And we came, that was our best result. So we were placed 7th out of like 90, 100 teams.
So you and he, just the two of you?
No, so teams of 4. So it's usually a combination of a couple of my work colleagues and then a few people from socials.
Yeah. And Maddie Ching, for those that aren't familiar, was on Backyard 4 as part of the Red Tribe. For those who made the jury on that. Annabel, you were going to ask something before.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so Mel, you kind of missed out on the first little part around camp because you went off to get the secret idol. And then when you came back, you had, I wanted to hear about that catch-up piece and how that affected your relationships and who within that first few hours you felt good with and who you really didn't.
Yeah, so as I said, I immediately gravitated to John and Hayley, and I knew the only person that I knew of 2 people. So in our season, so I knew of James. I'd played like a mini with him before, and I knew roughly of Mal because I'd seen him on online groups. I'd never spoken to him. I'd never met him, but I'd read a lot of his strategic takes and I knew that we would be on very similar wavelengths. And the only other person who I knew who I didn't actually know I knew him until after the game was Michael. And that's because and I think you guys might have queried it, like obviously his socials is MYKL, but it's spelt normally. Yeah. And during one of the votes, James voted for Michael with MYKL. And when I saw that, I was like, where do I know that fucking name from? Like, but I couldn't piece it together. And then after the season, you add each other on your socials. I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking Luigi. Like,
yes, fucking Luigi.
So they were the only people I knew. But so getting back to your question, so Hayley and John, I was like that within 5 minutes. I wanted to work with James, but when I threw Anna's name out like within 2 minutes of coming back to the camp after that challenge. But James was very hesitant on it. So that made me a bit wary. And as the day went on, I was like, okay, they're like that. Joseph was always a little bit, Sam and Joseph were always a little bit on the outs. I think
Joseph.
Yeah, I think Sam was just off hunting rocks. She even said in her confessional that she was allowing space for conversations, which is the worst thing you do in this game. Simon had already gone looking for rocks, and so those two were actually away the most. Joseph was there, but Hayley and I just weren't on his wavelength. I think James actually wanted to work with him. I don't think John did, and John did not want to work with Simon. So I felt like in a good position, but I knew obviously once those votes were read, people would react differently, which is exactly what happened because Hayley became quite not distant. She was still really like friendly and, I love her to this day, but you could just tell that she'd pulled away. She didn't like that. She didn't know what the information was. I wasn't prepared to tell her at that point. And her and Anna started to get close at that point. So I deliberately got close with James. So we did this little switchy so that we still had, roughly similar alliances. I'm talking so much and had wine, so I have no idea what your question is now.
I love that.
And then John was just in the middle, yeah?
100%. John was in with every single person. I don't necessarily think if you ask, every single person so far has said John was their number one. I'm fairly sure that if you ask Anna, it will be Hayley.
I was going to say, except for Anna, because John was talking over the top of how like the misogynist he is.
He's such a misogynist.
Have you been really reflecting on your own internalized misogyny and how you weren't really amplifying Anna's voice around camp?
She was amplifying Amy's voice.
It was so terrible that Amy and I went on the same page. Like, no, I mean, look, she's a lovely girl and I do actually want to catch up with her, but she's from Melbourne. She went overseas like a week after the season. And she's still over there. So she's not back until May. It's one of those, things you look back on and you have a giggle and, she doesn't appear to have taken how I played the game too badly, because we've both been laughing in, you know, the group chats and that sort of thing. And I know she's keen to catch up with me as well, but we've not really dissected the show together, whereas the rest of us probably, you know, too much.
What do you think? Let's get your take on our initial discussion we had at the beginning of the show, if you were watching, about the line in LRG's. You know, Jo, I don't think anyone did anything dirty to her, but she seemed very upset, obviously, about being voted out at that point. Felt very betrayed by the other purples.
Yeah.
Not by you, but by the purples. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and look, you know, I on last night's pod, I did stand up for James a little bit. Like, at the end of the day, we all know, well, sorry, you will soon know, that it goes to the public. And, you know, the public who may not, friends of friends who may not understand Survivor, or, you know, people might say the random things on, you know, whether it's one of the groups or something like that. It can have an effect on people, and you never know how people can, how they'll feel 12 months from now and how it will affect them. So I did stand up for James in particular because, and I'm not blaming Dan.
So why are we standing up for James? What did James do?
Well, so James in that entire season, and I'm not having a go at the players or Dan, but he had Banfield coming at him. He had Sophie coming at him. He had Anna coming at him. It, you know, as much as he is, you know, a very positive person and quite ego-driven, that can take effect on people. You just don't know. So, yeah, in regard to Jo, I could imagine that would be very similar. I mean, we saw her reaction. She's not a player. She probably didn't fully, even if she knew the game and that people were going to vote you out, that whole blindside thing, thinking that she's got friends. And we know it's nothing personal. We know it's like game meet game, like getting you out before you get me. I do, and you made a point about tribal. I do think there was a conversation at tribal around being respectful. So I give them props for that.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think maybe a pre-game summary of something like that, particularly for maybe more so for players that haven't watched before, is probably a good, I mean, I'm really focused on people's mental health. So I think that is actually a really good step in the right direction for LRG, because technically we're doing what the main show does, and they have weeks of psych counselling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a fair call out.
I think people need to know it's a bit strange, but you will make genuine relationships with the people here. After the game, you will actually have a connection with these people that you wouldn't believe you would. And it won't really matter where you got voted out or if you won or whatever. You will have something that you all did together, and that bonds you. So the relationships you make and are making are real, but it doesn't mean that they won't vote you out or betray you, because that is the game. And that can be hard to understand if you're not a big fan of the game. But that's the truth of it. The relationships are real, but the betrayal is not. I guess that's probably
100%. And I think also add to that, there are people that know each other, even people that are fans of the show, super fans, and know each other. And I'm sure that would sting if you've got an existing relationship with people and they vote you out. I could imagine that, I mean, obviously it doesn't happen to me because I know no one. But if I was to play again, I have thought about this. So if I was to play again and someone had voted me out that knew me, I wonder how I would take that. You know, I'm sure I'd probably give them some sass, but like deep down, would I get over that really quickly? Maybe not. Eventually, probably.
I'd like to put on record that I would not. Everyone, just so you're aware, I would not. I would gut you alive and you are dead to me.
For me, it depends where they voted me out. If they voted me out first, I could not get over that. Like, how could you do that to me? But if I'm emerged and I'm a big threat and you get rid of me, I'm not really going to care. Like that.
Yeah, and I think that's on point. I think a lot of it really has to do with the position in the game, the position that person was in the game, and I guess, like, you know, how they do it.
Yeah. But yeah, if you cut your friend and makes them the first boot, they won't forgive you for that.
Oh yeah, like
all right.
I'm a redhead. Like, you're gone.
All right, let's get to the merge now because your game was so interesting and I do want to talk about it.
Okay.
So we get to the merge and this is where we have advantage Geddon.
Yes.
And
Johnny.
oh my gosh. John,
speaking of advantage Geddon, can I just show you my
Hey!
Oh
Beautiful.
my gosh. Oh, he's kind of hot. He's kind of hot.
Sorry,
are you still sleeping with him next to your pillow like you were in the tent?
No, that was just a one night thing.
that was so good. I'm so glad to be here with you, and spend the night with you.
I did laugh at Annabelle's take about the little guy because when you said that, I was like, oh, that is gold. Like, why didn't I think about that? Like, little guy, my little Johnny. I should call him that now, my little guy.
I really did think that's what you were alluding to.
Did love that. Sorry, go back to merge. What were you asking
Okay,
me?
so we lose John in what is an absolute freak accident. But in the fallout after that, how on earth did you manage to get your claws in the way you did? Because you didn't just outlast that vote. You outlasted several purples after that. Despite being very clearly one of the most strategic people in the game.
Okay, so some tea on that round. So going into the merge, the two people who I thought I'd probably work best with, Johnny, Stan, you too, babe. I really thought I would probably work best with Malcolm and Mal, and I can probably say at the very start, I thought I had an idea of where the pairings were because it wasn't 100% clear. And, we had so little information about those guys. I could see that Ma and Michael were like that. I could see Nick and Sophie were like that. I also looked at Sophie and Joe like that, and I looked at Nick and Mal like that. So I thought Mal was quite connected, but Ma was also with Sophie, and Ma was also with Nick. So I knew that there was some crossover, but I really thought it was Michael, Sophie, and Ma, and I thought it was Mal, Sophie, and Nick. And so I was trying to get to know those two in particular, and I'm not just isolating Michael. I think Michael was my ultimate goal, but it was Ma and Michael that I was talking to. And then Sophie gave me nothing. Like, she was very always loyal, strong, not really willing to talk to you. I don't think she ever once gave me a name. So I knew that wasn't necessarily an option, but trying to talk to Mal, and I think we just kept having confessionals overlapping. And so I think Mal made a really bad mistake. Of the very first thing that he said to me was, I've already spoken to Anna. I've given her my advantage to hold. I want to work with you and the Winyus, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's great. And I walked away and went, you're dead, Mel. Like, you're working with my arch nemesis.
How dare you try and assist Amy? How dare you?
Like, that's not going to work for me. So I charged my little bloody ass over to Ma and Michael. But I think one thing the thing that I did well, which, I touched on last night, was my strategy throughout the game. I think obviously I wanted to play a fluid game, but I wanted my alliances to be fluid as well. I think I did make one mistake, which I'll touch on after all this, but I really wanted to be in with people, but not have an obvious, this is our 2 or this is our 3, because I think that can lead to people targeting you or someone in your pair, and it puts you in a worse position. So I just wanted to be able to work the middle and make everyone love me and, want to marry me, blah, 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 and never vote me out. But I had Mal do that. And so they were telling me that they're going for Michael. And then I had Ma and Mal tell me that they were going for Mal. And I'm like, well, hell yeah, I'm on that board because he's working with Anna. That's not going to happen. And so, of course, then Malcolm ditched himself out of the council, out of tribal. So I chose strategically to vote for Anna, even though I knew she had idols. A couple of reasons. One, I knew votes were coming at me with a super idol.
Was
But
it strategy or was it just vindictiveness?
no. That was one point. There was definitely spite. Hello, I'm a redhead. Like that was going to happen. But the other reason was because I didn't want to vote for Michael, so that wasn't going to happen. And I didn't want the Win News and Mal to know that that's where my direction was going to be. And so to me, voting for Anna, it was fun. Like, come on, she'd already voted for me 3 times. So, that was great.
Once publicly as well.
Yes, twice publicly. But I did know about the first public vote. It wasn't shown in the edit, but I did know that was coming.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned that on the news. Someone mentioned that.
Yeah, so I think with that vote, that's probably what I did well. But more importantly, I wanted to put the vote on Anna, not just for those 2 reasons, but I was hoping to protect John because I didn't know how many votes I would get. I didn't know how many votes John would get. And we had a plan A, we had a plan B, but when that advantage again happened, we were sitting on opposite sides. So we couldn't talk freely. We couldn't work out what that plan C was. And I honestly I think I would have played, and I don't know, I'm sure I had a confessional about it, but I said definitely wouldn't play it for Anna. So Anna was right in her path, with James's strategy, that was never going to happen. At that stage, James and I had started to repair our relationship. I don't think I would have played it for him, but John, I really do think I would have. And I think I said to John when I played it, sorry, John, blah, blah, blah. But
you're saying that on the assumption that he has the most votes and you don't have the second most votes. I presume you're not going to sacrifice yourself for him.
Yeah,
but if it saved you both, you would have done it.
Yeah, and Anna I'm sure within 2 minutes told everyone I had the super idol. So, it was always going to be stacked on me, but I was trying to protect John with that vote. And then in the second vote where Malcolm was again the target, that was also when that whole female alliance thing was going around. I never believed that.
You into that? Did you
I played that I believed it. I didn't believe that Ma was on board. I knew Anna. I'm pretty sure Anna 100% thought that was happening.
Yeah.
But she was still working with Mal. So for me, I wanted them to think I was, but I was always going to vote Mal. And I don't think Mal fully realized. We had Nick dobbing him in and being all Nick about it. But at the same time, I think Malcolm said that just before we walked to tribal, he caught all the girls talking. I still don't know. And I'd be really curious when you do interview Anna, what her vote would have been. So Ma did steal her vote for the same reasons that all of us we knew started to gravitate around her. She was so indecisive. We know how quickly these games move. I work in a fast-paced job, make a decision, move on. But there was so much backwards and forwards that I was just I can't do this.
Mel, I actually think that's just you not actually sitting and listening to her voice and her contribution. And maybe if
I don't want to speak over you.
You work in a fast-paced, misogynistic environment, and it's just inbuilt these misogynistic traits into your behavior in the fast-paced Survivor game. And this is the problem with the world. We're teaching women to be like men, and we should be teaching men to be like women.
Listen, I'm all for strong females, but make a decision, girl. It's just a vote.
Make it snappy, bish.
The best thing about the All Women Alliance for someone like Ma, though, is I don't think she was never putting any of these people like yourself or Anna in front of Michael, but she was happy to get rid of Malcolm and probably Nick. So the only guy she actually had to save in the All Women's Alliance was Michael. So it's fine to be in an All Women's Alliance for a long time in that scenario. It works well.
But that's what it was actually called. It was called the Women's Alliance and Michael.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Which is exactly what was in the game, because if it wasn't for Nick winning immunity after immunity, he would have gone, I think, well before this. That's my read of the game.
Yeah. Definitely.
So Mel, in the comments earlier, you said it didn't exactly go down like that. And that's when I was saying that I think it was a bad decision for Michael to have sided and boot you this time over Sophie, because I said I think you were very willing to work with Michael in a way I don't think Sophie is. You're slow down on that one, Annabel. Talk to me. Tell me how it really was.
I definitely agree. And I think that's where Mars played such a brilliant game, because you know, she is tight with Michael, and, you know, Michael hasn't got a lot of credit, but like they've really done most of the strategy together. And I have always seen that as an equal pairing. And Sophie and Nick were exceptionally tight. Like Sophie, you could see Sophie was trying to fill up the bottle. And, you know, she would never go against, in my opinion, we were never getting Sophie to break up from them. But for Michael, and I kind of had like a timeline in my head of what I needed to do. And I definitely wanted to approach Michael because my pitch to Michael was always going to be those two aren't breaking up. And that Ma is closer to Sophie and you're not. And Ma is closer to Nick and you're not. So the only person who benefits from Sophie leaving is you. And that was always going to be my pitch, but I kind of had it.
Annabel was saying.
Yeah. So I kind of had it timed in my head, but it didn't work because of that bloody double. So I hadn't anticipated that. And then I just didn't have the time. I think I really, my memory's shit, as you know. So I really can't remember how I was pitching. I know I focused on jury votes because I thought that was a legitimate strategy. But yeah.
What do you think about my view that if it hadn't have been a quick double, Joe might not have gone right at that next point?
If Nick didn't have immunity, 100%.
Okay, but let's assume Nick has immunity though. Could it have been you instead of Joe?
I think Joe's name had been out for, and I think it's probably not shown in the edit, but you could see how keen Ma was, like itching to get Mel for so long. And I think they hadn't played yet. And we'd just been playing like for the last, you know, however many days. And I feel like some of them were really itching, like they got the taste of it and they wanted to, you know, go again. So I think maybe I think maybe things could have just basically stayed the same.
Okay.
I think I might be wrong. That might be an answer for other people, but that was the next name that, I mean, I just got so used to my name being constantly out there, whatever. And actually, I will say this now while we're talking about it. So I now have the record, and you guys might be able to tell me from your season if someone beats me. But so I now have the record. I got 18 votes, which is the most votes received against any player for any Australian LRG. If you take out the 6 sacrifice votes, the only person that beats me is Kath from Backyard Season 3, but she had a redemption. So she got 16 votes. 8 of those were from after redemption.
Yep.
So if you take those 8 out, she's at 8. And then the only person outside of that is Mitchell from Backyard Season 2, and he got 13 votes. So I guess technically Mitchell is the winner, but like I'm just going to claim it and say my 18 votes like took them 18 votes and the second last episode to get me out.
This is my first and last LRG. As far as I'm concerned, you're the queen and the only one in this running.
And look, if I just think about Melbourne, I can't think about where every vote went on every tribal, but I don't think anyone would have. I don't think it went that way. I don't think you'd have that.
Yeah. Cool. Record.
It's a very cool record. Hey, can I just have a voice? You're saying that on the other, I don't watch the other show, as is well known. I don't engage in that. I don't want to distract from my wonderful takes. You said that you had to stand up for James on that show. But as far as this show is concerned, but as far as this show is concerned, we love James. Why do we need to be standing up for James? He's amazing. Like, has James been copying some negativity that we're not aware of?
I just think that maybe not directly, but I also think like, you know, we are close now. So, you know, I just wanted to throw some support his way. And, you know, as I said, like people get down about stuff. It may not be that, but like I feel like in this day and age, people are always, I'm really conscious of people's mental health. I know that can affect some people. And whether he needed to hear it or not, I just wanted him to not.
Okay, wonderful. That's lovely.
I think even if you're a really resilient personality and you're someone who's used to copying negative opinions of you in your day-to-day existence, it's still quite a harrowing experience. I mean, I remember when I played Melbourne Survivor, for about a week afterwards, I was going on these really long, like maybe 2-hour walks at night around the suburbs, and I spoke to my therapist about it because I'm very proactive about my mental health. It's something that matters a lot to me. She said, "Do you feel like someone's hunting you?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly how I feel." And that the people voting for you and not knowing who you can trust really does put your body in that situation where you feel like your life is at risk. And even if it's a very brief experience, and you aren't copying loads of attacks, it does affect you mentally. So
100%.
Well, but let's see if it affects me mentally, because I'm going to be getting a lot of like nasty shit from people. I've been told that I feature extremely heavily in this first episode in the premiere, and I am sure I am going to come across as the biggest douchebag you could possibly imagine, because I was playing a bit of a character. I went out there to be a villain. I wanted to be as much of a villain as I could be. I wanted to be like the most villainous person in Australian LRGs. I told them I'd do that in my interviews. I know I'm getting a villain edit, and it's more of like a douchebaggy villain edit than like a like a. Are
you an ORCA, CK? Are you going to be? No,
I wouldn't say things like that, but like it's not going to be like a well, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of the people that there's villains like David Jeanette, right? Who everyone loves, who's so graphic. He's playing such a great game at the time. I don't know if I'm playing much of a great game. I'm just like really into myself, obviously. and
what would be a nice term for him? Like, at least Wolf is being sort of ultra strategic about it.
Yeah.
CK is just a next level douche. Like, I love CK, and it was love at first sight for the pair of us. Like,
it was.
Flog really recognizes Flog. But Sophie, let me tell you, you would have just died.
Look, these games, they bring out like. The thing is, you hear me talk here, and I've got all these great takes, I believe, and strategic reads. Yes, I do. Right. And I know what I should do, but when you put me in the pressure cooker, a part of my personality, a part that I usually control or only release for humor purposes, come out in a less humorous way.
Yeah, it is. It's like a challenging experience. Like, I know you guys just do the rice and beans, which I kind of dig. I mean, look, Kubdang had so much food that first day. They won all those rewards. Like, we were fucking starving. Like, no way I would have eaten fish eyeballs, like, if I wasn't starving. But I slugged those down like there was no tomorrow. It is funny when you're put in certain positions, how you think you'll handle it versus how you actually did. And then when you look back at it, you're like, oh, I got some ladyballs there. Like, that was pretty cool.
I'm not going to look at myself with that positivity, I don't think. But I have enough awareness that I know what I did and I know what I'm going to see. So it's not really going to bother me because, again, like, it's a character that I put on a show. And I've also got a lot of like other people have seen me a lot on this stuff now. So a lot of people have also met me in real life. So they know what I'm like as the character and they know what they're like. Annabelle likes them both, surprisingly.
Well, I nearly actually met you guys because I did get cast initially for season 4.
I know, I cast you.
Yeah, oh, cool, yeah. But I had to pull out because, I had some, and that's one thing. I think that's partially why I stuck up for James last night, because I know my struggles watching back the season, just because at the time we were filming, my mum had Alzheimer's. So, I felt really bad about being away. I really struggled with in the afternoon when she would normally have her freakouts, like, was she okay? Was she trying to contact me? And then, so I did find it really hard to concentrate in the afternoon because of that. And then obviously just before you guys played, my mum passed away. So it just wasn't in that headspace to be able to play. And since then I've lost like even more family. So watching back the season has just been so triggering at times. But, you lose that family, but so grateful for the community that I've now got. I will say last night I was for work drinks and I was pretty much like I was in my Meet the Cast. So they got all the tea spilled last night in a drunken ramble, but I feel like I should have saved that for you guys.
A drunken ramble on the other show. Yeah, it is more on brand for this show, but they need some spice. They need some spice. I don't watch them at all, but they need some spice.
Throw them a bone, and I can see how you did so well because we've only been talking for 40 minutes. I'm already deeply in love with you. You've let us ramble on and indulge in talking about ourselves. You've pulled on our heartstrings. I'm already ready to come out there and marry you. So,
well, hopefully you're both at the viewing because I'm thinking of coming down next.
Yes! Oh my God, I will be there and we can hold hands and make out. It'll be amazing.
I will not be, unfortunately. Interstate trip at that point is not possible, but I will be at the finale when that happens, I think in June or something.
Okay, cool.
I think they're hoping to do a live reunion, which I think would be very cool.
Sweet. Cool. Awesome.
Because we all miss the live reunion, don't we? From the Real Survivor? We all miss that. Yeah. The pizza thing sucks.
I think we should have some fist fights. I'm sure we can stir up some drama. Make it go full Bravo. All right. Do we have anything else to say or can I go to bed?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much for coming, Mel. Thank you for being so amazing on this season. Oh, this is someone I've never heard of. Who is Jackie Yates Buttress? I don't know who that is. Do you think James got a bad edit or was he misunderstood? I liked his edit.
I thought he was fun.
He was a superstar.
And I think I understand Sass. I know, Sophie with the what did she say? You're a flog.
And fucking moron, I think.
Yeah, there's a few other things. And I know Sophie meant no disrespect. That's fine. Yeah. But as I said, I'm conscious of people's mental health and just wanted to throw some support.
Yeah. Plus, and I do need to throw out a call. Snyder's been calling it all episode.
Yeah.
To Kurt Carlson, who, according to Snyder, created the term LRG or live reality game. I know he's one of the founders of this podcast. So yeah, it's probably true. Well done, Kurt Carlson. Amazing.
It is tradition on this podcast to wrap it up with tits out for Snyder. So thanks again.
Thanks, Snyder, for always being here.
Well, here's my third boob, Snyder.
Yeah. Thanks, Mel. And we will see you all next week for the finale, some interviews. We'll see who the winner is. It'll be very exciting. Can't wait to catch with you all then. Thank you.
Cool. Bye, guys. Thanks.